The story is about the girl study business information system and always think that IT should be her life career. And when she was 21 years old in New York, seeing people baking and running the cupcake business, her destiny had changed. Starting out with an online cupcake business, Sheryl and her business partner, Think New, found Cupcake Central, and since then, the chain has grown to 5 stores in Melbourne. In 2015, she had taken on board with the role as CEO of the League of Extraordinary Women, an organization she co-founded in 2011 to enable female entrepreneurs starting out in business and discovering what entrepreneur means. Please welcome on stage Ms. Sheryl.
Hi everyone, my name is Sheryl, so I hope you've all enjoyed the cupcakes out there. Did everyone get the cupcake? So today I just want to go through my story and share with you my story and some tips and tricks on how to hatch that dream. If you, I'm also, the CEO and co-founder of League of Extraordinary Women as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So, I want you all to think back to when you were 8 years old and imagine someone asked you the question, what do you want to do when you grow up? So take a moment and think back to when you were 8. So when my parents asked me at 8 years old what I wanted to do when I grow up, I said to them I wanted to change the world. And I think, they were really hoping that I would say I want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, but I just said, I wanted to change the world. That was what I wanted to do. And I don't know why I said that, but it's always stayed with me throughout my whole life. So I guess, going through high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I finished high school and I went to a selective high school, which was MacRobertson Girls High School, and everyone there was extremely smart. They all went on to get 99.9 and became studying medicine, law, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I looked at my uncle actually for inspiration, and he was an IT consultant in the early 2000s, and I just saw him travel a lot of the time, and he got paid lots of money. So he worked 6 months of the year and then he got 6 months off, and he was just traveling. And so I thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an IT consultant. So I studied business information systems at RMIT. So, and that's what kind of, it showed me a lot it taught me a lot. And I decided that I wanted to be an IT consultant for a really large firm. So, for the first job I ever applied for, I actually applied for over 200 jobs before I got my first job. Growing up, I was actually quite shy. So I wouldn't be able to speak on stage or even pick up the phone and talk to people because I was really shy. And for me, my dream was to work for a big firm. So I actually eventually got a job at a global firm. It was an American firm. It was one of the biggest. And it was when I went over to New York. I was still studying at the time, and I went to this bakery. It's called the Magnolia Bakery, which is one of the famous bakeries in New York. And I took a bite of a cupcake, and people would line up for hours. And I thought these people were crazy. Why would they line up for a cupcake? And so of course I did the same thing, and then had the cupcake. And then I just had this dream. I don't know what happened to me, but I came back home and I loved cupcakes, and I started baking cupcakes for everyone. And it was just one of those things that I don't understand, and now I sort of do. But I was still working in corporate world, and I was really, every day I would wake up not wanting to go to work. I would fall asleep at work, so I would fall asleep on my desk. I felt like something was missing, so every morning I'd go to work and I'll look at my screen and I'll like read cupcake blogs. That's the first thing I would do at work. And I really felt like something was missing. I felt like my life, I wasn't born just to sit in front of a computer and work for money. And I only live for 2 days of the week. If you think about most people, they hate Mondays and then they can't wait till Fridays. So that was my life. I would hate going to work, like tomorrow, I would hate going to work. And then on Fridays, I would be so happy because the weekend was coming around. But now, it doesn't even matter if tomorrow's Monday or today's Sunday. I enjoy every single day as it is. So, yeah, it was just something that was interesting to me, and I thought something was really missing, so that's me falling asleep. So I guess the day that changed my life was in 2009. So the global financial crisis came around. The company I was working for was an American firm. I remember my boss texting me the night before and he said, "You have to come into work at 9 a.m, we have an important meeting." Didn't know what it was about. And I walked into work and went into the office with two of the managers, and they said to me that I no longer had my job. So they handed me a yellow envelope and said, "You can actually pack up your things and go." And that was it. And I was working so hard for a promotion. It was actually quite hard because even working for a big company, you had to travel, and travel seems really nice, but it's actually you take so much time away from your family and even your friends. And I was really just heartbroken. So I took about 2 weeks. I was crying every day, not knowing what to do. But then I thought to myself, this is my opportunity. This is actually something I've been always dreaming about for years, to start my own business. So how did I catch that dream? So the first 3 months, what I did was, well, first of all, to make that decision, I just said to myself, I'm going to give myself 6 months. If I can't make my business work, I can always go back into the corporate world. And I had to move back home. So moved back home with Mum, and then I did the following things to start my business. And I didn't know how to start a business either, so I taught myself everything. So I scribbled out a business plan, I registered my business name, I became a sole trader, and all of this stuff I kind of Googled. I registered my home kitchen. So I didn't have money, I didn't have hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to open up a store. So I asked around. I asked a lot of friends, hey, do you know how to register your home kitchen so you can bake and sell cupcakes? And a couple of them said, oh, I heard it costs thousands and thousands of dollars. You have to build a whole separate kitchen to your home kitchen. I heard it's very difficult. And at first I was like, oh no, I don't have tens of thousands of dollars, and it sounds really hard. But then something told me to think, well, this person hasn't done it, so I'm just going to call the council and ask them. And so I called the council and I asked them, what do I need to do to register my home kitchen? And it ended up only costing about $500. Like, I just modified a few things in my kitchen and I registered my home kitchen, and it wasn't that hard. And so that was my first lesson, that I realised when I ask for advice, I only ask for advice from people that have done it. So I don't ask for advice from people that haven't done it, because everyone has an opinion. And I also launched an online business. So it was an online store. I got a friend to help me build a website. He was getting married later that month, so in exchange I baked him cupcakes for his wedding. So I started my business with less than $2,000. So I knew that I only had a small amount of money to last me for the 6 months, and I wanted to make sure that every dollar I invested in my business would actually, be worthwhile. So these are the first cupcakes I ever baked. You can see that practice does definitely make cupcakes better. So I remember bringing these first cupcakes into work one day, and just seeing my colleagues' faces light up when they ate the cupcakes, even though they looked terrible, that's what got me hooked onto baking cupcakes. So, and that's my business partner and I. So yeah, we started baking cupcakes, and that's my first kind of logo as well. Started baking cupcakes and selling them at the market. So that's what we did. Every morning I would, wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. and bake and go out to the markets. So I did this for about 10 months, and it got to a point where I got so busy. I was within, I think, even 5 months, I was making more money baking cupcakes 3 days a week than I was actually in my corporate job. So yeah, it became really busy and I couldn't bake at home anymore. So my business partner, Tin, who's also my ex-boyfriend, which is a story for another time, but he and I, started a business, and we opened up our first store in late 2010. So, we've now got, in the last 7 years, we've now got 5 retail stores. We own all of the stores across Melbourne. We employ over 95 staff. We've baked over 1 million cupcakes. I don't even count anymore, but I'm guessing it's way over 1 million cupcakes. We've got 56,000 Instagram followers, which, I really jumped onto Instagram when it first came out, because when I first started, how I grew my business was through word of mouth and also Facebook. So when Instagram came around, I was one of the first to get on there and post up photos. So we use that very heavily. We've got over 25,000 likes on Facebook. We've also got 1 million views on YouTube. I don't know how. I just take videos of me frosting cupcakes with my phone, and they kind of went viral. They sold out within like a day. So we're going to get a bigger shipment in October. Okay, so just wanted to show you some of the photos as well. So the first photo is I did a book signing. So when I first launched the cookbook, I didn't expect to have such a long line. I sent it out to my database, and we had over 100 people line up to get me to sign a cookbook, and this is 3 years ago. It's pretty crazy. One of the videos up there, it's got about 481,000 views. And then that's our newest cookbook, which is coming out soon. And and I do a lot of demonstrations and talks and things like that too. So going through the challenges with starting a business, and it is not easy. So the first thing is, like everyone that runs a proper business will tell you, it's not easy, but it is worth it. So for me, every day there's so many problems that you have to solve. As soon as you finish solving one problem, another one will come up, and it will just continue, and you just realise that you'll never be out of problems, so you just get used to it. But the challenges I had to overcome was the small business owner mindset. So coming from an Asian background, especially, I think, it is, I didn't tell my mum that I lost my job for 6 months, so I just said I was working at home, and I'd go out to cafes and stuff. But I didn't tell my mum I'd lost my job and I was starting my own business, and I was only baking on the weekends and on Fridays as well, and so she thought it was okay. But it was only when I started to make money, then I told her, and she was okay with it. But the whole small business owner mindset is that, it's kind of like when you buy a franchise, or you have a small cafe and you work in it. So if you are not there working in there, you're not making money. It's like a hairdresser, even a doctor, for example. You might own your clinic, but if you don't actually see patients, you don't make money. So that small business owner mindset I had to change. So I had to change it to, how do I become an entrepreneur? Meaning, how do I make money when I sleep? So this means that every single dollar that I invested in was not in myself. Like, I didn't pay myself a big salary. I was paying myself $300 a week just to get by for, a whole year or two. But every other dollar that I made, I would invest in people so that they could start doing the jobs that I, could delegate to them. And so I had to do that. What else? Investing money in the right areas. So we invest so much money in our branding, and our store fit outs, if you've been to our shops, they're not cheap to build. They cost like $250,000 to $300,000. And a lot of people will, spend $100,000, but for us, we look at every detail and we invest in a lot of the branding because it is more of a long-term view. So that was one of the challenges, managing growth. So, going from myself, my business partner, and our brothers working in the store to growing to, a team of 10, then 20, now 95, that takes a lot of work because the more people you have, it's actually the more problems that are created. So I had to learn how to manage that. And again, like everyone else was saying before, the speakers, it's just continuing to learn and expanding my knowledge. So I never stop learning. I love coming to events, especially like this, because I always learn something. I've already learned at least one thing from each of the speakers today, or it was a great reminder. So for me, I always like to attend these kind of events. And also finding mentors. So finding people that have done it to give me advice. So again, it's the whole Simon Sinek thing, start with why. I always tell my staff that we are not in the business of selling cupcakes. We're here to sell an experience, and it's an emotion as well. When people eat a cupcake, you feel happy, you feel joyful. So that's what we're selling. And so when we create workshops, I teach people how to bake. I put all my secret recipes in a cookbook and I sell them. People are always telling me, well, if you're giving away all your secrets, how do you make money? You're just telling other people how to build a business and be your competitor. But I don't work with that mindset. I think the world is so abundant, meaning there is so much out there for you. If you work in a closed mindset, that's all you're ever going to get. So the more you give, the more you'll get in return. So I do a lot of charity work. I'm going over to Cambodia in 2 weeks' time to teach kids in an orphanage how to build businesses. And people think that's crazy, how could they ever do that? But we went there, I've been there for 2 years in a row, this is the 3rd year, and these students are amazing. Already 4 of them have started businesses, and you can see the change that you make in their lives. So I always believe that you need to give to receive. And we also do what we love. I hated the corporate world. I hated working for big banks. Sorry. I did work at ANZ, I worked at a couple of other ones, but I just didn't feel like I loved what I did. So I didn't want to create a workplace that other people didn't love. So I wanted to make sure that all my staff have a lot of fun and love to do what they do as well. So we do really fun things. Again, being creative. That's how we stay in front of our competitors. We create unicorn cupcakes. We put the donuts in the cupcakes. We work with big brands and influencers on Instagram. So those sorts of things really set us apart. And we always bake fresh. So I never sell day-old cupcakes. Any cupcakes that we have left over, we try to donate. So all those sorts of things that we do. At the start, people don't know about this, but as you kind of get your fans and your customers that keep coming back, they know. And they're the ones that you want to share that with. So I wanted to go through how to hatch that dream, because these are the 3 things that really helped me. Again, it's very similar to what everyone was talking about, what makes you feel alive? So for me, I didn't know why I loved cupcakes, but when I started baking cupcakes, it really made me feel alive. It just made me really happy. And so I just listened to it and I followed that. And it kind of just goes on from there. And sometimes people were like, how do you find your passion? How do you know what your life's purpose is? And I believe that you just go out there and you try as many different things as possible. So I always say yes to a lot of opportunities, like even for speaking, if I can, if I'm free, I'll say yes to speaking at events because I get that opportunity to learn as well. The second thing is you are the average of the 5 you spend the most time with. So what I mean is, if you look at your 5 friends, the people that you speak to every day, you're the average of them. And so you have to, over my lifetime, I've really, looked at the people that I surround myself with, because if you surround yourself with people that are negative, then that's what you're going to become. If you're going to surround yourself with highly successful people that are driven, that are, pushing boundaries and creative, then that is going to rub off on you. Because they're not going to ostracize you, they're not going to put you down when you say, hey, I have this idea, I want to do this. They're not going to put you down, because they're going to encourage you to do that. Or they might be so amazing, you're like, wow, what am I doing with my life? I need to push myself there to get there. So I constantly look at that and see who I surround myself with. Decisions decide destiny. There is no action without decision. So this is by Tony Robbins. I love Tony Robbins. He's changed my life. But everyone has a dream. Everyone has this idea that they want to do. But how do you actually push yourself forward to do it? And it's actually making that decision where you go, that's it, I'm going to do it. It's kind of like when you want to start an exercise plan and you're like, yeah, I'll start Monday, or I'll start a diet on Monday, whatever. But if you don't actually decide in your mind that you're going to do it and be 100% certain, then you won't actually follow through. So I think when I lost my job, I just made that decision and I said, I'm going to do it, and in 6 months' time, if I fail, I can always go back. So yeah, making that decision really helped me. So I wanted to share with you some resources that have changed my life. So these are the things that really, really helped me. So the first 2 books, Awaken the Giant Within, which is by Tony Robbins. If you can, invest some time to go to one of his Unleash the Power Within seminars. So usually that's in Sydney. And so I saved up to go to the first one. I went in just before I lost my job, actually. I went there about a year before I lost my job, and I saved up, I think it was $800. And I saved up to go to Sydney to attend that event, and that was why I actually decided to start my own business as well. So yeah, read that book, it's amazing. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think a lot to do with building wealth and money and abundance is to do with mindset again, because money is all around. It's just how you kind of look at that opportunity to and feel that you're worthy of making money is actually a big thing that I had to overcome. If you don't like reading, listen to the podcast Tim Ferriss show. It's quite amazing. markmanson.net, which is a really cool blog to read about life. He's really, really, he's actually really quite straightforward, and yeah, I really like what he talks about life's purpose and figuring that out. And I will teach you how to be rich, which is a funny name for it, and it sounds like he just wants to make money, but Ramit Sethi is actually really cool. He has a lot of courses online that you can kind of do, but I really like his style. So those are the 5 resources. And then also with practices, I think these are the 3 things that I want to share with you all today, because I wish I had known about them much earlier on. So the first one is meditation. I've been doing it consistently every day for the last 2 years, and it's changed my life. I do something similar to transcendental meditation. If you have seen that crazy Jim Carrey clip on E! News, Jim Carrey is one of those enlightened, awake people that practices transcendental meditation, but it actually does work. So I believe that that's helped me a lot. Journaling, so I like to journal a lot and write every single day, or at least a few times a week. And then the last one is saying yes to opportunities. So for me, how I've built up my, brand or influence in Melbourne is because I always say yes. When people invite me to talks, when people invite me to events, I go to events maybe 5 or 6 times a week. which is probably a positive advantage of being single. So you can do whatever I want. But going out to these events, you meet and network with people, and you start to build your influence there. That's about it. And hopefully you found that really useful.